And here once more the Octagon Quakers logo. And then, additionally, there was another Huber, or Hoover, don't know what to call him anymore, J. Edgar of the FBI, or the FBI, who was a Freemason, a pure Swiss member of Octagon of the Templars, and as square as a broomstick. That's why, when I was in the army, we used to call the FBI the faggot bunch of incest. And look how he looks like the other Hoover. This is the same family. You know, it's almost the same picture as Herbert Hoover, the guy who stole the American savings of the public on Black Tuesday in November 1929, with the Federal Reserve and the Swiss Bank of International Settlements. But look, it's the same face. It's family. I tell you, it's all. Well, anyway, the Swiss, they all look alike. They all look alike. Well, actually, there he is, the other one. I'm very bad with computers, you know. So maybe somebody else can draw a comparison and put the pictures together, a couple of pictures, so we can. So here's the other Hoover. Look, it's the same breed. Same breed, same face, it's all in the family. Look, Herbert Hoover. Same. It's all the Swissies in power, believe me. And then here in Wikipedia, it's this chapter here, which is quite interesting. Early life and education. Well, let's have a look. Well, here it says he was Swiss-German. I know Scheidlin, that's a Swiss name anyway. And Huber, of course. It says, on the left, German-Swiss descent. The old Swissies. And there he is again, the Swiss Mr. Huber. And I mean, this is the typical way they are. The way this man behaved, so secretive, and with his hatred towards others, and using the police and using the hierarchy of the system. It's so typical Swiss. I recognize the Swiss in it. And look at it, how he was serving, under which president he was serving. Well, of course, under John F. Kennedy, and in office. And there it says, it says, I'm sorry, I couldn't find it, but here it says he served under Herbert Hoover, the other one. Mr. Huber and Mr. Huber. Well, what a nice couple, eh? Well, couple he was, you know, he liked male couples, he did. You know, terrorizing us, normal, healthy people. Octagon and the powers of darkness use many homosexuals because through their sexual inhibitions and needing to hide it from normal people, homosexuals are very good at keeping secrets and smile. So here we can see J. Edgar Hoover, or Mr. Huber, together with his boyfriend. But only queers would go out together and dress identically while holding hands, having their sexual appetite written all over their faces. They call it unisex. Nice, charming, isn't it? It's like dressing up for a ball. And here they are again, Mr. and Mrs. Huber, or Hoover, whatever. And there again, like twins. It's so obvious, isn't it? You know, unisex. I don't want to know about the name of the vacuum cleaner with the same name. God knows what they did with that one. And there they are again, Clyde Tolson and J. Edgar, Mr. Huber. Well, this is a silent code among homosexuals, like dressing up the same way, especially in a time, at the moment, in an era where you shouldn't let others know. You know. So they started developing secret codes, like dressing up the same way. Well, it's so obvious, you know. So this is the homosexual code of those days, and still, you know, it's like dressing up for a party or a cinema. You could probably look it up and dig it out, you know, in some of those gay communities' websites or something, you know, like the dress code. You know, probably find it, but I don't fancy digging too much in there. In it, you know, it's already appalling enough. And in the very same Hoover FBI style, in the motherland of Mr. Hoover, they even have the Swiss Pink Cup organizations. In the very same Octagon Templars tradition of the two Templars sharing one horse together and worshipping Baphomet. Well, I mean, this is Octagon, you know, so, well, Mr. Hoover would have loved this, well, he knew it. Well, this is the symbol of the Knights Templars, you know, two guys on a horse, nice and warm, cozy together, just like Clyde Olsen and Mr. Hoover dressing up the same way. Well, they dressed up the same way as well, didn't they? Well, you can read some more in the Octagon Templars Pink Cup organization after Mr. Hoover's style in the motherland, you know. Yeah. And they even have a contact somewhere on this website with an email address and all that there, contact. Well, I mean, it's too much for me to do it yourself. And it's by these evil structures healthy, normal families get terrorized, as me and my family have to endure for 16 years, while we just want to raise our kids in peace. As if these sickos hate us, normal people, just as Mr. Hoover hated JFK incredibly much, just for being a good person. So, when Kennedy in his November 15, 1963 speech said, "There is a plot in this country to enslave every man, woman and child. Before I leave this high and noble office, I intend to expose this plot." And it only took another 7 days after until the Swiss Hoover and his pals from the motherland Octagon had him done. Kennedy couldn't expose the Swiss plot any further, but I will. And do save, copy, download and upload this film in haste, because they will ban and delete this document very fast. I think it was last year, this guy here, he made this film, J. Edgar, about Mr. Hoover. I wonder if he would have made it differently, if I would have explained to this bloke here about Mr. Hoover's genealogy. Who knows? In order to help humanity towards peace and justice, I've put my life in great danger with this video. Please someone help. All banks are in fact Templars banks by the Swiss. So when Kennedy on June 4th, 1963 signed the executive order number 11,110 against the Federal Reserve in the hands of Octagon, they gave Swiss Mr. Hoover the order to execute the job, just as they murdered Wolfgang Umvogel in the Swiss torture detention center in 2010, and many, many, many more. Then Lyndon B. Johnson became president after the Swissies had put aside the obstacle, and LBD is a direct descendant of William the Conqueror, King of England, who was his 23rd great-grandfather. Yes, it's all fair aristocracy who rule. The old world order, and this is the new world order with their Freemason things. And the Templars are part of it as well, as I explained in the film Fair Aristocracy. You can all see how Mr. Huber, or Hoover, both of them, was just as secretive and ruthless as the Swiss are. Really nothing leaks out, and they keep tight by the Swiss laws of silence, of octagon. And because the Swiss and Mr. Huber are as precise as a Swiss watch, also Robert Kennedy had to be terminated, together with a few other Kennedys. I wonder if his wife Jacqueline had put on her pink dress and pink hat to please Mr. Huber on that very day on November the 22nd, 1963 in Dallas, when they killed the best president America has ever had. Only 2 presidents have acted against the Federal Reserve, and both of them hit the deck before their time, Kennedy and Abraham Lincoln. Now the only US president in the entire American history has dropped a couple of Swiss banks. Is he really trying, or is he just being pushed by some senators or something? It is highly suspicious though that he's on the Swiss list too. Oh, here he is. See my video about this. So this is the Swiss Americans list of Swiss Americans. To you. So here's the other Wikipedia website about the Swiss Americans. Let's have a look at the facts, where they went to and when it started. So right after the Middle Ages, which officially ended in 1500, so from 500 to 1500, that's the Middle Ages, the Swiss started to come to America in the 1500s. And the first Swiss to come was Theobald from von Erlach. The name von, it means it's the aristocracy. So he was a nobleman of the fair aristocracy, whose family name I filmed in the Templars' castle of my video, The Pharaoh Show. And he told all his pals, just as the Swiss mercenaries did in Alsace, when they emptied the land of its inhabitants and killed them all and their children during the 30-Year War, so the Swiss could settle down there, and they still speak a Swiss dialect in Alsace, France. Similarly, how they organized the murder of the Jews by their Templar Nazis. It was all Swiss made. So you can see where they went to. And let's have a look at some immigration statistics concerning the Swissies in the US. Before 1820, some 30,000 Swiss immigrated the US. Between 1860 and 1880, 50,000 Swissies. 1881, 1890, 82,000. Next 30 years, 90,000. After 1945, 25,700. Between 1961 and 1990, 29,100, adding up to at least 300,000 Swiss Americans immigrating to the US. So, considering California had 117,700 and Ohio had 86,000,